It's the 2Dumb2Quit podcast with Jeremy McCall. He's dumb, way too dumb to even quit. So, he has his own podcast now.
Hey friends, it's Tuesday. It's the 2Dumb2Quit podcast, and I am here. Normally we're on the tour bus, and today it's a little different. We're here at we're at Vanderbilt University.
We're at Vanderbilt, yeah.
Yeah, here in Nashville, and talking to, I guarantee you, the smartest and the most in-depth person I've ever spoken to in my life, outside of the podcast even. Very, very excited today to be talking to... he's an assistant professor here, right, at Vanderbilt.
Right.
He's a gravitational wave astrophysicist, which we're going to ask him what exactly all that means. And his name is Mr. Stephen Taylor. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you very much,
Nice to
Jeremy.
see you, man.
It's good to be here.
Thank you for putting up with me. It just took me 20 minutes to set this microphone up, which, if you want to look like a moron in front of an astrophysicist, is really the place you want to do it.
No, you want to go to a science conference and you'll see people changing over their laptops to give presentations. That
Really?
takes about 10 minutes. So
Normally I have to ask my 6-year-old to help me get things online. So, astrophysicist. Let's go back, I guess, to the beginning. Where are you from?
So I'm from Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland.
Which is the
homeland.
It's the UK portion of Ireland.
Okay.
So Ireland, as your listeners may or may not know, is split between the Republic,
Yes.
which is its own separate sovereign country, and then it's got this little bit of the United Kingdom at the top.
Okay.
So I'm from there and lived there for the first 18 years of my life.
18 years. And then when did you how do you get into astrophysics? Is that something you've always been fascinated with? Is it something that...
Yeah, I've always been fascinated with it. I can trace it back probably to the last year of elementary school, which for me in the UK, that's 11 years old.
Okay.
And we go from elementary school, which we call primary school, into high school, and then we're just there until 18 years old.
Okay.
So we don't have a middle school.
Yeah.
But in the last year, we had to do some projects, which were like find an interesting subject and write a report on it, and then make some sort of. We also had like the space-related project because it was coming up to the 30th anniversary of the Apollo missions, the Apollo moon landing.
Yeah.
In '99. So I got really, really super into it. And I don't really know why. I think it was just a kind of cinematic sweep of space and the stars and black holes. So instead of making one model or one little diorama for this thing, I made like 5 or 6. I made rockets. I made moonlanders. I got really into paper mache and making the moon surface out of paper mache.
Wow.
I got super into it and wrote a bunch of reports. And then was like in heaven for that summer because it was the 30th anniversary of the moon landing. There was also a total solar eclipse coming across the UK in 1999. So I got really into it. And then in high school, I was still interested in astronomy, but then started to become more interested in the fundamental physics aspects of the universe. So there's astronomy, which is looking at the stars, understanding how things work, and looking at the properties of things in the night sky. But then fundamental physics is the nuts and bolts of the universe. Why is the universe the way it is? How do you make a universe in the first place?
Yeah.
So trying to combine the two things that I was interested in, I realized that there was actually a discipline called astrophysics. And so I got really, really interested in that and sort of led me from there. Yeah, I did physics at college and specialized in astrophysics towards the end.
Yeah. So did you start... I'm going to have you get a little closer on that mic, too. Just pull it into you.
Sure.
There you go. So you got your undergrad, University of Oxford?
That's right, yeah.
And that was... and then your graduate, you did your PhD in astronomy at the Institute of Astronomy at Cambridge.
That's right, yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I was very
Those are
lucky.
fancy names.
I don't know. Nobody told me that I couldn't try these things or do it. My family were very supportive of me just doing what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I guess I must have been very arrogant or just naive, but I applied to these places and did not apply really to anywhere else. I maybe applied to go to college at one other place, the local university, But I thought if I'm going to leave
so
home...
you did like local, like community college then Cambridge and Oxford.
No, the local university in Ireland, Queen's University in Belfast. It's a fantastic university.
Of course.
It really is. Like in some aspects of astronomy, it's world leading.
Really?
Yeah. In lots of like survey aspects and looking at the night sky almost every night, taking snapshots of the night sky. They're hugely involved in that sort of thing.
It's amazing.
But I got accepted to Oxford. I applied to Oxford because I'd heard more about it than Cambridge.
Okay.
And I don't know why. It's just I'd always heard Oxford in movies and TV shows.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can only apply to one. So Oxford and Cambridge are so, I don't know, so in some ways stuffy that
sure
you can only apply to one. If the other place finds out that you've applied to
both,
to both, then you're not allowed to.
Really?
You have to pick. Yeah, I don't know if they still do that.
Interesting.
But yeah. So and I applied to do physics. So in the UK education system, you don't have a liberal arts component. You study one subject for your entire 3 or 4 year course.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, and I really liked, studying modern languages and history and particularly history. I was sad to give up doing formal studies in.
Right.
But I studied physics for 4 years and then specialized in the final year in astrophysics and doing some research
Which
there.
is really like the ultimate history.
Yeah,
really.
The ultimate history of the universe. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And then I really enjoyed it, so I wanted to continue doing it.
So if you were just going to speak to someone who has no idea of what an astrophysicist is, or astrophysics in general, also known as me and my friends, what's a good way to kind of lay it out? Like, here's what this is.
Okay, so astrophysics it's looking at lots of different phenomena in the universe, on large and small scales.
Yeah.
And then trying to connect them together with some common theory.
Okay.
So astrophysics, more than astronomy, is trying to get to the fundamentals of how the universe works. What can the observations we make tell us about the fundamental nature of matter and space and time, even the structure of the universe. So, an astronomer might look at neutron stars. Might look at something like, it's called a pulsar. Pulsar is a really, really fast rotating neutron star that beams out these hugely energetic jets of radio waves.
Okay.
So pulsar astronomers observe those, but then other scientists, maybe astrophysicists, will take those observations and then try to fit those observations to theoretical models.
Theory.
And say, okay, this explains this part, and it also explains another set of observations we've made. We've got some sort of theory emerging from these observations. And
wasn't there just like a big explosion? It was like the brightest light ever recorded?
Oh, yeah, there are a couple of like really, really bright objects that have happened recently.
Yeah.
So there are these objects called fast radio bursts.
Okay.
And fast radio bursts are like millisecond bursts of radio waves that come from outside of the galaxy.
Like sound frequencies?
Radio waves are light, so you won't have any sound associated with them. But they're much longer. They're much longer wavelength, and you couldn't see them with visible light, for example.
Gotcha.
But we can pick them up with radio telescopes. We've got these dishes that just point out in space. We can pick up these huge bursts of radiation, and we still don't really know what produces these fast radio bursts.
Okay.
There are, lots and lots of them being discovered all of the time, and this only really kicked off about 10 or 12 years ago, the study of these things. And they're like one of the biggest mysteries in astronomy at the moment.
Really?
Where do they come from? Do they repeat? Turns out some of them repeat. Like there are bursts, and then maybe a little while later you'll have another burst, but it doesn't seem to be regular.
Wow.
So nobody really knows. There are lots of these. Like there are theories that they're associated with neutron stars.
Yeah.
Neutron stars are the final stage of matter before it collapses to a black hole.
Okay.
If you imagine like if you take a spoonful of a neutron star material, it would weigh as much as the Empire State Building. So you're dealing with like nuclear densities.
It's unfathomable.
Yeah, it's insane. Neutron star, you form it in star explosion. Like when a star reaches the end of its life, it collapses in on itself and forms a super dense core of essentially almost neutrons. And it's like taking the entire sun, squeezing it into something the size of Los Angeles. And then for a pulsar, you'll whip that as fast as a kitchen blender. So it's something that's rotating like maybe hundreds of times a second, and then sending out these beams of radiation, which we pick up and detect.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. We have thousands of these pulsars, and we're starting to understand them a lot more than we did.
So you're studying them by using satellites, or you're using information taken from the waves, the brightness, the density, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, exactly. So there are radio telescopes on Earth, but there are lots of other types of telescopes as well. There are visible telescopes, like simple optical telescopes.
Right.
You imagine the kind of telescope you got as a kid, maybe, and then you expand that to...
Mine was the difference between you and me, mine was pointed at the neighbor girl's house.
We might have had different yeah, so you take a telescope like that, and then you expand that to a multi-billion-dollar experiment.
Wow.
And they have these satellites as well in space that are looking at gamma rays, X-rays. You can look at the universe across the entire spectrum of electromagnetic waves.
Yeah.
And the human eye can only see a small sliver of that. But if we expand our view with different pieces of technology, then you get this huge portrait of what the universe is like.
So we were talking, as I was trying to figure out this laptop, we were talking before we popped on here about the news and how I have this conversation a lot. My friends all think I'm a space nerd, but I don't. I'm so infatuated with it because space to me is so, and the universe is so much weirder than any like science fiction you could ever think of. Like every day, and I get these alerts to my phone, which is just like, oh well, NASA today saw that there's galaxies battling out in the universe, and I'm like, how is this not? And they're talking about, whatever on television, politics or whatever. But it's like, how is this not absolutely all over the news? Like, I saw this thing about a picture that the Hubble telescope just sent from 135 million light years away.
That's
something that we built, sent into outer space. When did Hubble go up? I mean,
Hubble went up in the early 90s.
Early
and
90s.
It didn't work for a little bit.
Right, and they came back on.
They fixed it. Yeah, they actually could go up to Hubble in the space shuttle and fix the optics, and now it's incredible.
And now it's 135 million light years away.
No, Hubble is...
Oh, that's taking the pictures.
Hubble's taking the pictures of 135 million.
That's right.
Hubble's still in Earth orbit.
Okay.
And actually, the Hubble Space Telescope has vastly gone beyond its lifetime of what it was expected to do. So it's just this incredible instrument. And one of the astronomers who managed the Hubble Space Telescope science operations is at Vanderbilt.
Really?
A professor called Bob Odell. And he was in charge of Hubble Space Telescope science operations for a while.
Well, and then, so you've got that, and the amazing minds that you guys have to be able to figure these things out and work on these things. Like we were talking also about the Voyager. There's 2 Voyagers launched in the 70s.
Yeah.
Supposed to last like 5 years.
Yeah, it's like you have more powerful technology probably in your cell phone than or a cell phone from maybe 10 to 15 years ago than Voyager had.
And it's no longer now in our solar system.
It's gone outside the solar system. Yeah, and it's a difficult.
42 years later.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
Still sending us information.
Right. Yeah, it's so Voyager had to do this interesting trajectory where it picked up speed by going into orbit around planets. They do this sometimes in movies where you have a gravity assist,
right?
And you'll orbit around, and then you'll slingshot yourself out. So that's how Voyager picked up speed.
It's unbelievable.
It is incredible that they can do these maneuvers, and it's still sending back information. When I was at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena for a couple of years, they have this great art display, which is also a scientific heads-up display, and it's essentially a sequence of LED lights that forms a waterfall of information. So you'll be looking at this display, and whenever information from a satellite comes in, you'll see this huge cascade of LED lights, and that represents the information and the data coming in.
Wow.
And Voyager occasionally flickers up, and you see that it is still sending in a tiny amount of data. It's a tiny little trickle.
Yeah.
It takes a long time for that information to get to us.
Yeah.
And the way they say it's outside of the solar system is just because it's gone beyond the heliosphere, which is sort of this sheath of magnetism formed by the sun around the planets.
They said that they believed it. Didn't they originally believe it to be round? And when it went through, they discovered that there's an edge to it. Or?
Well, yeah. So I'm not totally an expert on this, but it has this elongated shape, I believe.
Yeah.
And so, saying you're getting out of the solar system, it's like kind of a long, drawn-out process. You don't hit a hard edge.
Yeah.
So there have been various reports, like Voyager has left the solar system, and then it happens again 6 months later.
It's crazy.
It just takes a while.
So does it come back in numbers? Is it coming back in like a binary form of
Essentially,
information?
yeah. It's coming back as radio waves, and it's sent back to a lot of telescopes across the Earth. JPL is a particularly big center. It's sometimes called the center of the universe because all of the probe data from all NASA satellites and all US satellites and even some foreign satellites, I think, are funneled through JPL.
Through one place. And where is that located?
Well, so JPL is in La Cañada Flint Ridge, just above Pasadena.
Okay.
Just outside LA. But it's really gathering information from something called the Deep Space Network.
Okay.
The Deep Space Network is 3 radio telescopes spread across the globe. One of them is just outside LA. Another is in Madrid. Another is in Canberra in Australia.
Okay.
And they kind of cover the globe and gather this information.
So, man, that just blows my mind.
It blows my mind too. But
it's madness that it's just not everywhere. And
yeah.
Like when they were talking about the, and I know I'm jumping around, but it's based totally on my no understanding whatsoever of it, other than just being fascinated by it. I'm kind of like my 6-year-old, really, where I'm just like, wow, that's incredible. But they were talking about the liquid on Titan,
right?
Moon Titan,
Yeah.
which is that Saturn's moon or Jupiter?
You're gonna catch me out here.
Is it Saturn? I don't know. Right?
So I should know that. I think it's actually Saturn.
Is it Saturn's moon?
I think it's Saturn.
Hey. Yeah, you nailed it. Saturn. You know what's up.
I knew that all along.
Yeah,
it's
of
just
course.
a test. Yeah, the fact that there's like liquid material under there, and the fact that could possibly host, we don't know what's under there.
Sure. I mean, you would think there would have to be. I mean, there's got to be something under there, right? I mean, whether or not life that we know, but bacteria or
it's possible.
Microbes.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Usually the question is there life somewhere in the universe? And I would say almost, it has to be a mathematical.
Yeah.
It's ludicrous if there's not microbial life somewhere else in the universe, at least.
Right. Do you think there's intelligent life?
I have no way of knowing that. But it seems strange that we're such a fluke otherwise.
Yeah.
So it's not my SETI and that whole mission to find life elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's not my area of expertise, but it just seems bizarre if we were the only type of life.
Kind of sad, really.
Yeah. Even if there is intelligent life, I doubt we would actually find it. I doubt we would actually communicate.
We're having a tough time finding it here.
That's true. I mean, intelligent life, we just regard ourselves as intelligent.
Sure, exactly.
But we might not even be on the scale of intelligence to another being.
Right. Well, when you look at the ocean, and the ocean's full of shit that we don't know anything about.
We don't really know what intelligence is either.
Yeah.
We don't really know if consciousness is some sort of emergent phenomenon.
See, now this is where I get really intrigued. So, I've kind of dabbled in reading about different forms of consciousness and really what consciousness is, and there's a theory about like multidimensional, like for every, and I don't know if it's a theory, but it's an idea of for every choice that you're making, there's a reaction to a choice.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know what
I know.
I'm talking about?
Yeah. So this has come out of quantum theory and quantum mechanics.
Right.
And it's really taken the wider public imagination by storm.
Yeah.
But basically, it says that to solve the equations of quantum mechanics, you end up with something called a wave function. Now, a wave function is not something you could observe. It's sort of a mathematical description of a system. And a wave function attaches probabilities to certain outcomes, to certain states of a quantum system.
Okay.
And then when a system is observed, some theories or some interpretations of quantum mechanics say that the wave function is collapsed. So out of all of those probabilities of events or choices or states, you crystallize to one particular configuration. And if you do the experiment many, many times, the probabilities you initially attached to the states will be associated with that. So if you say one state has a 0.9 probability, do the experiment 100 times, you'll get that outcome maybe 90 times.
Wow.
But people have interpreted that as saying, okay, it's possible we have a multiverse. Every choice you make, every particular, even if I, knock over this cup, there's a chance that, it'll destroy your computer or it'll just roll onto the floor.
Right.
It'll do a bunch of things. But that's only one interpretation of quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
There are others. The multiverse is particularly elegant because it says, every time that a decision is made or a particle interacts with another particle, you just branch off and you create some other separate universe. Now, I don't know what that says about consciousness. There are, I'm sure, lots of philosophers who like to piggyback on quantum mechanics and try to graft some sort of scientific veneer onto their particular brand of philosophy.
Sure.
Deepak Chopra comes to mind, who I'm sure I think he likes to talk about quantum mechanics in his own particular way, but I'm not sure he's studied it in any great detail.
Well, you find that a lot too, especially in like life philosophies, where there's a lot of picking and choosing of like, oh, this works well with what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
You find it with the Bible, with anything, Stoicism or anything. Do you get frustrated? Like, are there interferences between those kinds of things, like quantum physics and then astrophysics, where it's like if quantum physics is talking about one thing, are there things that coincide with that where you're like, that's not even within the realm of possibility based on the way astrophysics works? I mean, do they collide?
They do collide, yeah. So astrophysics covers a huge range of physics, like from the quantum realm up to giant universal scales. Yeah. And the study of the universe on large scales is called cosmology. So that's the realm of like Stephen Hawking and Einstein.
Okay.
So the neutron stars I was talking about earlier, they really are, when you get down to it, quantum systems, because you have to take into account that whenever atoms are squashed an incredible amount by their own gravity, by the neutron star's gravity, the only thing that keeps them apart and keeps them collapsing into a black hole is some sort of quantum pressure. The fact that there's something called the Pauli exclusion principle that says that certain types of particles cannot occupy the same state at the same time, and so they generate this kind of resistive pressure to being squashed. That's the only thing that keeps objects like white dwarfs or neutron stars from just collapsing into a black hole, is a quantum pressure.
Okay.
So astrophysics covers that kind of quantum theory, and so any type of observations we make of neutron stars or pulsars or other things can feed back into our understanding of the equations of nuclear matter and quantum physics.
So black holes is one of your specialties.
Black holes is what I do on a day in, day out basis. Yeah.
So explain, I mean, if you can, in terms for a guitar playing songwriter, what a black hole is, like what it is. I know what I've seen in movies. I know what, but like what is a black hole by definition of what you do? Well,
a guitar playing musician might have, there's more poetry to black holes when you get down to where the theory breaks down, actually.
Okay.
Because we still don't understand where the theories of black holes break down and how to explain the theory of black holes at their centers. But having said that, black holes are essentially punctures in the fabric of space and time. That's insane. It's insane already. That statement, is pretty cool.
It's a puncture in space and time.
Yes. And the reason why they're called black holes is because there's a region around them called the event horizon, where if you passed by it, and passed into that region, you wouldn't really notice anything. But for someone looking at you from a far distance away, they would suddenly see the image of you, sort of a shadow image of you, suddenly freeze. And that you wouldn't be able to get any other information from the person that's just past the event horizon. Essentially, it's the region of no return. So as fast as you might go, as much fuel as you might spend, you cannot escape. Not even light can escape the black hole once you pass over the event horizon. That's how strong the gravity is.
That's insane.
So that's why they're called black holes.
And so when something enters that, is it destroyed?
Good question. We don't know. So we can't send a probe into a black hole. We don't have the technology to send something that far, that quickly yet. We also can't see anything that comes out of a black hole.
Right.
And we can't follow its passage as it goes into the event horizon. The theory is that you wouldn't notice any difference, really, if you passed over the event horizon until you got super close to what's called the singularity. The singularity is the point of infinite density at the center of a black hole. And once you get close to that, the strength of gravity is such that you would get, on the technical phrase, is spaghettified. So the strength of gravity on your feet would be a huge amount stronger than the strength of gravity on your head. And so you get stretched and elongated into this huge thing, and yes, you would get destroyed.
So I've heard a theory of like when you're watching a ship like sail out to sea, they get smaller,
right?
But it's not actually disappearing; it's just moving away from you. And I heard somebody talking about that with black holes, where, and I don't know if this is a theory or if this was just this guy's theory. I don't even know who it was, but was talking about something entering that, of it being more of, what if it was going somewhere else?
Oh, I see. Yeah. So there are some theories, and we have no way to validate these theories because they're just math at the moment. But there are some theories that every black hole leads to a white hole on the other side. So it might be spitting material out across the universe, or it might be birthing a new universe.
Okay.
So there are some theories that the universe, our Big Bang, was really the outcome of a black hole from another universe spitting material and energy. We don't know yet. So it's a nice theory if it's true, because it gives us an explanation of where the Big Bang came from and what initiated it.
It's amazing. Did you watch that? There was a documentary called "The One Strange Rock."
No, I didn't.
Did you watch that?
No.
It's on. I think it's on. It's either HBO or Netflix. But Will Smith narrated it, and it talks about a view of Earth, humanity, philosophy, and all the things from an astronaut's perspective. So I think they talked to like 8 astronauts, and it was like they were talking about some of the depression that these astronauts are treated for when they come home, based on seeing. There's something they said about you actually being able to see the entire planet that causes a loss of self, where you're like, how do I matter, kind of a thing.
Yeah, it creates this. I've heard that it creates this sense of insignificance, and also like a spiritual feeling and a connection to everyone down on the planet. Because if you're looking down on the planet, then you're looking down on the location where every single genius or musician, everything we know, every piece of human history, no matter how insignificant seeming, happened down there. Yeah. And this is actually a paraphrasing of something Carl Sagan said, the famous Carl Sagan, he was a scientist at Cornell for a long time. Okay. Was a huge force behind the SETI mission to look for extraterrestrial life. And he made the Cosmos TV show back in the 80s. Oh, yeah. Which is now being rebooted by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah. So Carl Sagan is one of the biggest, he was one of the biggest voices in science communication. And he said he was behind the whole pale blue dot philosophy. Yeah. That when we see pictures from probes that look back on Earth, the Earth just looks like this very small, tiny speck of light. Yeah. But it contains everything. Everything we know about the universe and humanity was on that pale blue dot. It makes you feel very humbled by it. Yeah. I imagine you have to deal with that. I mean, if you were looking at Earth from a black hole, it would just, it's just a flicker of light. You wouldn't even see the Earth. You wouldn't see it. You might not even see the sun. The sun is it's pretty average star
Wow.
on the outskirts of the Milky Way galaxy. The Milky Way galaxy is a pretty average galaxy. It's not even one of the bigger galaxies.
Like a JV, like a junior varsity galaxy.
It's just so this. It's amazing that we understand anything about the universe.
Well, I don't, but it's amazing that you do.
Well, I don't understand how, if someone asked me how does a cell phone work in detail,
I don't get it at all.
I'm not sure I could give that. I understand the physics behind it.
Sure.
But I don't understand the engineering or the electronics.
That's the thing. There's actually a couple comedy bits about it. Louis C.K. did one where he was like, you talk to people who go, Verizon sucks, and it's like, wait, why? This is like Star Trek shit.
You've got a
in
magic
your hand.
box.
Yeah, it's amazing. And she's like, well, one time it was weird for a minute, and he's like, it's got to go to space.
I know.
Can you give it a second? But like I think, especially coming from like a world where everything was kind of, you used to be able to work on your own car. You know what I mean? You used to be able, everything was kind of, I don't want to say dumbed down, but it was more digestible. Like you could look at a Chevy 350 and go, oh, well, I need to replace the starter or the carburetor. Yeah. And you might not know how those work, but it was digestible. And now it just seems like nothing's digestible. I mean,
it's true. It's happened within science and academia too, because it used to be that a reasonably intelligent, admittedly rich person in the 18th century or 19th century could know pretty much all there is to know about science and even history at the time.
Wow.
Because we didn't, it was relatively straightforward. And then the 20th century happened, and then you had relativity by Einstein, quantum physics,
right.
Lots of weird condensed matter physics, laser physics. And so it's required ever more specialization within science. So it's becoming more difficult to communicate with colleagues across disciplines, and we've realized that. So there are now like cross-disciplinary communications that are attempted. We want to try to build bridges between even different parts of a physics department,
right?
Because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. They might have discovered something in their techniques or their knowledge that's useful in another part of knowledge.
Yeah,
and that's how we connect all of physics together. These kinds of collaborations.
So you worked. So you worked at the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
That's correct.
In Pasadena.
Yeah.
And you were there for a couple of years?
I was there for like 2 to 3 years as what's called a postdoctoral fellow.
And then you went to the California Institute of Technology.
Yeah, which is only a few miles away.
Okay.
So Caltech and JPL, they're connected. Caltech actually manages JPL on behalf of NASA. So NASA sort of gives control of JPL to Caltech, and that's who manages it. So there's a very strong connection between the two institutions.
And then found yourself here at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, went on the faculty job hunt.
Yeah.
And fortunately, Vanderbilt was hiring at the time, and was very, very lucky to get a job offer from Vanderbilt.
It's wonderful. How do you like Nashville?
I'm loving it. My wife and I are really super happy to be here.
Yeah. It's a great city, man.
Yeah, and I'm seeing lots of construction everywhere, and whenever you see that in a city, I think that's a really great sign.
Yeah,
that there's so much investment happening.
Yeah, I was thinking about that actually on the way down here, because like I said, we normally do this on the bus, but Vanderbilt is a little bit of a cluster when it comes to the roads and the parking and stuff just because there is so much construction. Yeah. But I was thinking, my son loves playing that game, Pocket City, like Sim City.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, Nashville is like a 6-year-old created a city and just forgot to put roads and parking and shit in, because it's just, everything's just, stacked on each other right now.
Well, I did hear that they tried to get some sort of public transport bill passed.
But it's like, but the ideas that come there, like they were talking, the last mayor, who's a felon now, she wanted to do an underground subway that, like, experts were saying this is going to cost $1 billion, and it's going to be outdated by the time it opens. So it was like, it didn't make any sense. And I know they tried to do the trolley car system that would get people in and out. Right. So I don't know what the answer is, but something's got to give. It's getting crazy, but it's such a great place to live.
Yeah,
such a great place
it's been awesome
to be a part of the community.
Yeah. My wife was particularly excited about Nashville. So
what does she do?
So she's currently studying for emergency management disaster response, which is the kind of things that FEMA takes care of.
Yeah.
where you have to respond to some sort of disaster.
Hurricanes, tornadoes.
Yeah, and you have to manage aid being given to some region. You have to manage doctors going across borders, even if there's some sort of cross-border situation.
Wow.
And she's working at Vanderbilt at the moment as an intern in their department.
That's amazing.
But she has lots of interests. She also sings.
Yeah?
And so she was in this, she was in LA's premier female choir.
Really?
Called Vox Femina. Yeah, she's a soprano too.
Wow.
If that means...
Like the gangster? No, I'm kidding.
I think I've got that terminology right. She's a soprano too in a choir.
Okay.
So she sings. I can't go out to karaoke with her. I've gone out to karaoke a few times with her.
Yeah?
She
kicks your ass?
Oh, yeah. I can't sing at all. It's embarrassing.
What if you pull up like an old Irish song or something, you know?
No, I don't even have that range.
No?
I can do Kenny Rogers, The Gambler, and that's about it.
Dude, that's all you need here, man.
Yeah, I know.
There's guys playing downtown. That's all they've got.
Well, yeah, she's really super happy to be here. Just the vibrancy of the city, the energy.
Yeah.
That something coming from LA we were really looking for that kind of. The city's awake and it's full of energy. That's what
and I think that there's so much. I think there's like 150 songwriters or singers or whatever move here a day, something like that. It's like 600-700 a week, and I think it's kind of like because Los Angeles always seems a little bitter to me. You get it's a shiny star with a little dirt on the halo.
There's a little bit of seediness.
Yeah, and here it doesn't. The bitterness hasn't quite set in yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's still very hopeful and very, everybody has got big dreams and big aspirations.
Yeah. You've got the Southern hospitality as well.
And then the food's great.
Yes.
Food's amazing.
Yes, the food is amazing.
Are you a soul food guy? You like soul food?
So if that means, have I tried the hot chicken and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
I tried Hattie B's, yeah.
You tried Hattie B's. All right, so I'm going to take you, because you and me are best friends now. You don't know this, but I'm going to take you to a place. There's a place here called Silver Sands.
Okay.
And it is not on any tourist map in town. It's been here since I want to say the early 60s, late 50s. Same family owns it. Mm-hmm. And you can eat anything there from hog jaw to oxtail to I would just recommend the chicken. The chicken's amazing.
Yeah,
and so good. I go in there and I'm going to take you and your wife. We have to go have.
We'd love to. That
Silver
sounds amazing.
Sands. Yeah, hot sauce, Kool-Aid, whatever you want, man. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Is this one of these places that's been on like diners, drive-ins, and dives?
It should be if it hasn't. I don't know if it has. I know that Arnold's has. Have you been to Arnold's?
I haven't been to Arnold's. No.
So it's a meat and three, right?
Okay.
Which is you pick your meat and three sides.
Gotcha.
Right. And Arnold's is famous. Arnold's, there's a line down the door. It's like the Pancake Pantry. Have you been around the corner yet?
That's in Hillsborough Village.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
So there's a line out the door for pancakes, which I get it. It's like going to Portland. There's a Voodoo Donuts there or whatever, and there's a line down the block. It's a donut at the end of the day. It's fucking standing in line to get a pancake. But I got to take you to Soul Food. That's my favorite place to take people.
That sounds amazing.
So, yeah, we'll have to go. And I know that you're on a time crunch, but so based on all of these things, and we have to have you on. We have to have a part two because
I'd love to, I didn't even touch on what I actually do.
I know. But with what you know, with what you study, is there a philosophy? Is there a life? Is there a spiritual philosophy? Is there something in you that you live by because this is a crazy difficult industry. So I would imagine the stress and anxiety and stuff like that. Like, how do you combat that? What is your approach to living?
That's a really great question, and I'm not sure I have one yet. But it is quite stressful, and you go through a lot of job insecurity in academia. Nowhere near as insecure as the music industry or acting.
Well, I don't know about that.
But yeah, so the people that want to become a professor or even do science, at some point you realize that the chances of that happening might not be good because it's like a pyramid.
Right.
There are lots of people at the base level who study it, and then there are only a few positions at the top. So it can be heartbreaking, and you have to take a very philosophical approach to it, that there are other things interesting in the world. Academia and science is not the only thing. There are lots of, humans have generated lots of interesting things to study. And in terms of what keeps me grounded, my wife keeps me grounded, my family keeps me grounded.
Yeah.
Like even if I have a really terrible day at work, if I'm stressed out, I can go home and just relax and be with her.
Yeah.
Going to the gym helps as well.
Yeah.
Like you need to, if you need some sort of endorphin spike,
Yeah.
Lifting heavy weights can help that. And I like to do that. And just a general philosophy of, que sera. Because you can't really plan too far down the road.
Yeah.
If you're not enjoying yourself at what you're doing, then what's the point?
Exactly.
So I just try to keep things in perspective. There are lots of interesting things to do. If something doesn't work out, try another thing.
Right.
It's not, the important thing is that you keep trying, you keep going after your goals, you keep generating new goals if old goals don't work out. I don't believe in giving up.
Absolutely.
You have to just keep going.
Well, and the thing that I liked is that out of the gate, you're like, I'm going to Oxford, Cambridge.
That's arrogance.
But
It's the arrogance of youth.
But there's something to that too, though, and that's why the podcast is called 2Dumb2Quit, because that's been my entire career has been when I should have stopped, when it was like, man, this is bad, like I need to quit.
But do you ever look back on something and think, how did that even work out for me?
Yes,
Yeah.
every fucking day,
Yeah.
every day. I mean, and things find you. My wife and I were talking about the other day. I was like, when you know you're doing the right thing that you're supposed to be doing, and you're stressed about money, money finds you when you need it. You know what I mean? Like, you never go hungry. It's when you're chasing things that aren't what you're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? But it's like when you're on the right path, you're doing the right things, you're busting your ass, everything seems to show up.
Yep.
Everything seems to work out
Things
in a weird
work out.
way.
Well, yeah, things work out the way they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And I don't mean anything deep or spiritual about that, but something comes along, one door closes, another opens.
Right.
And you just have to look at it like that. Just keep hustling and
you get
trying.
a lot of luck when you work hard.
Yes. Yeah, working
the
hard.
opportunities,
Being smart or being talented will only get you so far.
Yeah.
It's mostly about working hard.
Absolutely.
And I will say, be nice as well.
Yeah.
Like, there are really talented, really smart people that are not nice, and nobody wants to work with them.
Exactly.
So the most important thing is to be kind, I think.
Yeah.
Be a good person.
Well, we'll end on that. I know you got to run. Be kind. Be a good person. Too dumb to quit. We are definitely going to get Mr. Steven back on the show because I want to talk about what you actually do.
We'll get
I'm
to
so
that.
fascinated by you that I'm like just that I've wasted
I'd
an
love to
hour.
be back.
But
Thanks, Jeremy.
yeah, dude, thank you so much for being on. Thanks for having me. Too dumb to quit. Is there anywhere where people can check more of your stuff out? I know you've got some stuff on YouTube, some of your chats.
Yeah, if you go onto the Vanderbilt website, you'll find me listed there under the faculty. That'll link you to my personal website as well.
Yes.
And that'll explain a little bit more about what I do. I might be on YouTube giving a couple of lectures, and I'm occasionally on Twitter. So I'm on there too.
What's your Twitter handle?
Astro Steven.
Astro Steven.
Steven with a PH.
Okay. And that's Dr. Steven Taylor here at Vanderbilt, astrophysicist, and a great dude, and going to be a soul food fan here shortly because I'm going to take him to eat. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you very much, Jeremy.